ETM Hotel, Rennie, Sean, welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the Mossy Warrior Clan. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend and tell a friend. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications, as we are always on the fly popping up with shows randomly throughout the day and or week. I do want to continue the series of the Songhai, this time transitioning into the Kings. As promised, through conversations with many people here, African Americans on this side of the continent, we come to know that not too many people know much about West African history, let alone any West African kings or important historical moments or contributions to the world and so forth. So as a member of the Mossy Warrior Clan, not only do we dedicate a lot of our time to West Africa, but Central, South, East, and Northeast Africa. We have done a lot of extensive work on West Africa to open some eyes. We've written articles, books, publications, things of that nature to help enlighten the African American mind about the direct ancestors post-slave trade. So I do want to thank everybody for tuning into the show today. Please, again, like the show, share the show, tell a friend, tell a friend. I see that we have viewers in the chat. We're actually viewing, but, haven't chatted yet. But for those of you that come in, let's get the algorithms up. After the reign of Ascii Bari del Yambo came the reign of the Ascii Mandango, then the Ascii Mohammed Kakuya, the Ascii Mohammed Fari, and the Ascii Balama, and the Ascii Suleiman Dama, who according to some was named Dandi. The Ascii Suleiman Dama was the forefather of the inhabitants of the town of Arman. It was he who vanquished the people from the province of Mima, pillaging their territory and destroying their power. In early times, this province was a great kingdom with formidable powers, existing independently from the Empire of Mali. There were 12 great chiefs from Mima, the main one being the Mima Korno. The Tokrifa Soma was also one of the princes of Mami. In his presence, the king of Masina was required to hold off himself at attention and pour dust on himself, as he swore a loyalty oath and lifted his babu, which was then draped around him. One can still see remnants of his capital, which is now in ruins. The title of the prince has been preserved in our days, but the one who bears it now is debased and travels by foot, having no steed to carry him. His authority has disappeared, but his title remains intact. To this day, the king of Masina regularly visits the people as a means of assuring his own happiness. He consults with him and he asks him to pray for him, climbs down from the steed to salute him, and seeks him out sight to his former capital, which is now in ruins. The successor of Silmandama was the tyrant, the debauched, the cursed, the oppressor, Shi Ali, the last king of these dynasties, who was a model of shameful conduct for his entourage. The Shi Ali was always victorious, pillaging every land on which he fixed his choice. Whenever he was present, his armies were never defeated or vanquished. They were always victorious. From Kanta to Sabirudugu, his horses ran over all these lands where he made war on his people. The meaning of this word Shi is given in a text. I saw it was written by the hand of a Mahmud, one of the Imams. The meaning of Shi, he states, is Koi Banadi. In other words, the Caliph of the Sultan, his deputy or replacement. The Shi Ali was a tyrannical king. His heart was so hard that he once threw a baby into a mortar and forced the mother to grind it, even while the baby was still alive. That's in Spears of the Mossie, Volume 4. Shi Ali. We kind of dive deep into Shi Ali in Volume 4. So I'm not going to give you too much. I just want to give you that part, because until you read the text in Volume 4, you won't understand why they say what they say about him until you actually have historical context, right? You have to remember, these are Arabs writing about the kings of Songhai. All right. Now, let's move a little bit forward, because I don't want to get hung up on Shi Ali. And as the fetish, what happens in the fetish is they spend a lot of time on Shi Ali. When I asked the question about kings and things of that nature and who was the most memorable and so forth, and many people couldn't answer that question, Shi Ali should have rung bells, but for the right reasons. But in most instances, from certain narratives, it would be for the wrong reasons. So hopefully, if you pick up Spearmasters Volume 4, you will understand the extensive work put into that chapter and the reason why Shi Ali was my main focus. After Shi Ali, his son ruled for a short period of time before he was usurped by none other than Asciyah Mohammed. Asciyah Mohammed, who in those days bore the title of Tandi Farma, was among those who served in his army along with his brother Ammar Kamadia. Now, I'm telling you this because Asciyah Mohammed served with the Shi Ali. Yeah, there's some intricate details about how Asciyah Mohammed comes into power and how that all transpires. So I would hope that, again, you guys get Volume 4. Now, without going too far, I wanted to stop right at the thought of Shi Ali, because when the usurpation happens and the titles change, it goes from Shi to Azkiyah, and then we have the rules of the biography of Azkiyah Muhammad. So let's go. We're talking about just kings. I just want to put some images up. His father's name was Arlum, and he was a member of the Silla clan that is said to have come from Toro. His mother was named Cassie, and was the daughter of the Koi Bukar. There are those who claim that the genealogy of his mother can be traced to the descendants of Jabir Abad Allah, who is one of the Ansars, but it would detract from our purpose to dwell too long on the details of this matter. It would be difficult to enumerate his many virtues and qualities, such as his strong political skills, his good and will towards his subjects, and his concern for the poor. It would be difficult to find his match from any ruler who came before him or after him. He had a warm regard for the ulamas, let me pronounce it correctly, the saintly personages and the talibs. Beyond the obligatory religious duties, he gave many alms and performed the highest acts of devotion. He was a man of the greatest intelligence and clairvoyance. Due to his great respect for the ulamas, he lavishly gave them slaves and riches, which both strengthened the interests of Muslims and encouraged them to submit to God and practice Islam. He reversed the scandalous innovations, inequalities, and bloody cruelties of Ascii Ali. He built up the religion of the most solid of the foundations. All of those who could verify their rights to liberty were freed from slavery. The goods that the Shia had confiscated were also returned to their rightful owners. By instituting the Qaidis and Imams, he restored religion. May God repay him for his zeal in the name of Islam. He also named a Qaidi for Timbuktu, a Qaidi for the town of Jin, and a Qaidi for every town in the history that asked for one, from Kanta to Sibarudugu. He once debarked on the town of Kabara, from whence he traveled at the head of his army towards Sarubentamba, preceded by his servant Ali Fulan. He climbed up on his steed and departed after a prayer of sunset, not bringing with him anyone other than this Ali Fulan, who carried his sword. When he arrived at a place in Timbuktu where the people still performed their prayers on a daily festival, he said to Ali Fulan, "Do you know how to find the house of the Qaidi Mahmud ibn Umar?" He said, "Certainly," responded Ali. "Then go to the home of the Qaidi," replied Azkiyah, "and tell him that I am alone here and that he should come see me by himself." He then tightened the reins of his horse to calm it as Ali Fulan departed on his errand. Ali Fulan found the sheikh, that is, the Qaidi Mohammed, sitting in front of the door of his house, surrounded by various persons, as was his custom. When Ali Fulan relayed the Ascii Muhammad's message, the Qaidi deferred at once to an innovation, only going inside his home to get his staff so that he might walk with Ali. He dismissed all those who wanted to accompany him and went by himself to the Ascii Muhammad. When he arrived before Ascii, he saluted him and magnificently lowered his hands. Ali Fulan seized the nose band of the horse and led him away, as the prince had ordered him to make sure that nothing disturbed them. After fully enacting the rites of the civility of the offering their greetings to one another, the Azkiyah said to the Qaidi, "I have sent messages to you with my instructions. Have you carried out my orders in Timbuktu?" He responds, "No. You sent my messages away to prevent my orders from being executed. Did not the Mali Koi once rule over Timbuktu?" "Certainly, yes," responded the sheikh. "He ruled over this town. Was there not a time a Qaidi in Timbuktu?" "There certainly was," responded Mahmud. "Are you better than this Qaidi, or was this Qaidi better than you?" "He was better than me, and he was more accomplished." "Did this Qaidi," replied the Azkiyah, "ever prevent the emperor of Mali from exercising his authority over Timbuktu?" "No, he did not prevent him in any way." "The Tuareg," continued the Azkiyah, "were there ever the masters of this town?" "They certainly were." "Was there not during their time a Qaidi in Timbuktu?" "There certainly was." Are you better than this Koidi, or was this Koidi better than you? He was better than me, said Sheik, and he was more accomplished. Wasn't the Shi the next ruler of Timbuktu? He certainly was the ruler of Timbuktu. Was there not a Koidi in this town? There certainly was. Did he fear God more than you, or do you fear God more than him? Are you more accomplished than him? The Koidi says, no, this man feared God more than me, and he was superior to me. Did any of these Koidis prevent their sovereigns from exercising their authority over Timbuktu, or from executing their wishes or prohibitions, in raising taxes or soliciting contributions? They never impeded them in this way. They never set up obstacles to their desires. Well, then, replied the Azkiyah, why is it that you prevent me from enacting my orders? Why is it that you set up obstacles? Why is that? Wherever I send my messages with my orders to be obeyed, you turn them away, beat them, and order them to be run out of town. Why do you act in this way towards them? To these words, the sheik responded, have you forgotten, or do you merely pretend to forget the day when you came looking for me at my house, the day when you clutched at my feet and garments and said to me, I have come to a place myself under your protection and to entrust my well-being to you, so that you might save me from the fires of hell. Help me. Hold me by the hand so that I do not fall into hell. I entrust myself to you. This is the reason why I run off your messages and reject your orders. I have forgot it. By God, cried the Azkiyah, but I remember now, and you are right. By God, you deserve to be rewarded, for you prevented a great misfortune. You are like a divine barrier keeping me from falling into the fires of hell. I have irritated the Almighty God, but I ask pardon of him, and I return unto him. From this time forward, I will continue to entrust myself to you and cling to you. You do as you must, for God is on your side. Protect me always. Then the Azkiyah released the hand of the sheik, took his leave of him, climbed back upon his steed, and returned upon his way, joyous and satisfied. He made vows in hopes that the sheik would live a long life, and that his own soul would be delivered unto God before the death of the sheik. If you reflect upon these words of the Ascii of Mohammed, you will see that he was a man of pure heart, a man who believed in God and his prophet. These two men were such admirable figures. Glory be to God who raised them above ordinary man. It is to him alone that they owe their virtues. The Ascii of Muhammad had held power for 2 years and 5 months at a time that the 9th century ended. It was during the last of the century that he established control over Diaga. Having taken 500 masons from this town, he brought 400 of them to Gayo for his personal use, including all their tools. Their chief at this time was named Karamogo. He gave the remaining 100 masons to his brother Amar Kamdiago. During the same year, Amar Kamdiago was invested with the office of the Kanfari. He was the first to bear this title, which did not previously exist, whereas the titles of Balma and Bengafarma had existed from the time of the Shi. In the course of the year 902, which would be the 9th of September 1496 to August 29, 1497, the town of Dindarma was built. The Ascii of Muhammad ordered the Kanfari to build a capital for him, following the recommendations of the prince. Amar searched those regions with islands, as well as those in the desert, and at last Tindirma, a site that attracted him. This place was formerly inhabited by a community of Jews, from whom the remains of the tombs of whales can still be found. When those in the retinue of Amar came upon those wells, which were then numbered at 333, both the confines and the towns and the outskirts, and when they were observed the manner in which the wells had been dug and arranged, they were extremely amazed. Here is what was reported to us by one of our contemporaries who lived in Mori Korah. The Mori al-Sadiq, son of the jurist Mori Mahmah, son of the jurist Mori Mahmaka, son of the jurist Mori Hakaru. He told us that he had once heard his father in conversation with men of his own age say that he heard his grandfather tell the following story. It was not the order of the Ascii that the Jews had dug these wells, nor because they were very wealthy, but because they grew vegetables that they sold to the merchants in a good profit, and because the water from the wells was better for their vegetables than the water from the river. Anyone who anyone who watered his vegetables with the water of the river did not get the same results. Their vegetables were also not pleasing to eye as those which were irrigated with the water of the wells. This was the reason why the Jews had dug wells. Some of these wells were 140 cubics in depth, while others reached 200 cubics, and still others reached only 60 to 100 cubics. Each time that the depth was lower than 60 cubits, the water did not suit the vegetables. At this time, their town was so spread out that some of them inhabitants were forced to begin walking immediately after their noon lunch if they needed to wash their clothes. They would bring them their dinners with them for the night and walk at the brisk pace until the time of the sunset or close to it, only to get to a place where they could wash their clothes. Others needed to walk only about 20 steps beyond the walls of their houses to get to their edge of the water. At this time, 7 princes ruled over this town, who were descendants from Jewish kings, namely Jabrut ibn Hasham, Dalzaryim ibn Abad al-Hakim Zir, ibn Salim ibn al-Latif, ibn Suleiman, Malik ibn Ayub, Fadel ibn Mazar, and Galib ibn Yusuf. Each of them commanded a large army, and each prince was assigned his own well, both for himself and his army. Whoever mistakenly drew from the wells to irrigate his vegetables with water from a well belonging to another prince was required to compensate the prince who was rightfully owner of the well, whether the mistake had been made by a free man or a slave. Each prince commanded 12,000 horsemen. As for his militia, that is, those who marched on foot, they were too numerous to count or tally by consensus. Here's how they dug the wells. Not long after they had begun to sink a well into a dig out of the earth, they laid the walls with clay and stone. Then they brought in faggots of wood, like those from the Tibber, and placed them in the wells. Next, they brought in jars of bulanga, which they poured over all these materials, and then they lit a fire. The material then combusted, producing what looked like a glazed coating. All of this was left to cool down before pouring water on it from above. One then dug out the remain of the cedars that were still inside the wells, leaving a small portion behind. The building of these wells exacted a considerable cost, but within all the Tukwar, there were no vegetables comparable to those from this town. This was the story that was told to us. Meanwhile, Amir had arrived at a place in the intention of founding Tendirma. This town was given the name because of a time of arrival. The Kenfari found no one who lived there with the exception of Sol Sokor named Tindi, who was married to a woman named Marmar. The names of these two individuals were joined together to form the name of the town, which is composed of the words Tenda and Marmar. When Amir Kamandiago came across the Sokor, he asked him what it was that had brought him there. Then he asked him, "What is your name and which tribe do you belong to? What set you claim?" The man responded to him with these words, "My name is Tissiman, but my children who are here call me Tendi because they have heard their mother use this name. As for my tribe, I'm from Zenji or Timbo, which is an island situated between Gayo and Dindi. Now, at this time, his children numbered 18, of whom 11 were girls and 7 were boys." Amar next asked him if Zanji or Timbo were free or slaves. The man responded, "They are not free men. They are slaves of Sharif Mullah Ahmad, who lives in the town of Marrakesh." Mm. "How many years have you lived here?" Amar asked him. "For 35 years," he responded. "All my children who are here were born in this place, except the oldest, Ais Tissim. Did you find anyone here when you first came to this place?" "I found only an old slave here," responded the Sokor, "a man very advanced in years, whose hair was so white it seemed red, and who was the last survivor among the Jewish people." Now, let me clear something up before the wrong people try to grab that and take it away. When he says this means who was one of those remaining from the troops of the Beni Israel. So, in reference to what this guy's telling the other gentleman, Amar, he's telling the man that the last person here been here for a while, but he was part of an army. So there was an army of people that actually came into this place, and he remains to be the last one at this time. I don't want no pseudos trying to take away from that, because I kill y'all with some other stuff that I just ain't saying right now. Now, he said, "I stayed with him for 3 years before he died in my arms. Did you ever ask him anything about this town?" asked Amir. He said, "Yeah, I asked him." Said, "I asked him what kind of food he ate. I asked him the name of the town, what it was called. He told me that it was called Bakor, like his own proper name, that the name of the neighboring lakes at Fatih, and what Fatih was the first name of this town. He also told me that a slave who was a kind of jinn and who had been freed by," I don't know why he barking like that, "freed by his master, brought food to him whenever he was home. Now, he told me many things that I partly forgot. During this time, Tisserman offered hospitality to Amar, serving him with fresh fish to eat and opening his mind to him. Amar and his entourage stayed on 9 days eating fish, and they were completely full. The construction of the capital of Khanfari had begun about this time. From research made into the history of the chronology of this area, they have concluded that this event occurred in 1496. September 2nd, 1496, between that and August the 29th of 1497. The number of masons that were employed at this time was exactly 100. They were supervised by a man named Wahab Bari. The construction had been going on for 25 days when a messenger arrived for Omar, ordering him to report to Ascii Mohammed. As the walls of the place of Omar was still not finished, the Azkiyah commanded the Balamas Muhammad Kori and Ben Ghafarma Ali Kendinike Kanji to go to Timor and oversee the construction of the walls of this place. Those who were charged with this work were Armazi, his brother Bakar, Bukars and Gramni, and the brothers of Dindar Fari. In the meantime, the Khanfari hastened the guile to meet up with his brothers, who authorized him to rule in the place of a region in the kingdom. The Ascii of Muhammad began his preparations to perform a Hajj and visit the sacred abode of God, the tomb of the Prophet, and the tombs of his companions. He gathered together the necessary money and equipment for the voyage, sending dispatches through his territory and bringing them food and rations and provisions. Then he set off on his Hajj during the month of Safar in the year of 903, which would be September to October 27th in the year of 1497. After first taking 300,000 pieces of gold, which was drawn from the treasures of Shi Ali and deposited in the home of the honest Khatib Umar, he kept watch over that. Now, the vast amount of money that remained in the palace was the Shi's, buried in the ground or hidden in coffins. So Ascii Muhammad then found the bankroll. Instead of using his own coins, he's using the Shi Ali's. Now, he brought with him 800 men for his army, including Ascii Musa and Hukori Koi, Ali Furan, of course, Ali is always there. Yayi Kotor Wakari, the white chiefs, who number four and who were all members of the retinue, as well as the master Karu ibn Musa, who was Barit Koi, and whom the Asciyah Muhammad had authorized to rule over the province of Farah at the time to guide and help him through the triumph of the Shi Baru. In addition to these, he brought with him 7 jurists from his capital, who were his followers, the Alpha Salih Diwari, then the Mori Muhammad Hagaru, and who was the last at the time of the oldest member of this was Alpha Muhammad Tulay, and then Gayo Zukari. The tribal Syrian name came from the Sanafa. Then the Mori Muhammad, whose tribal Syrian name came from Teneku. Then Koidi Muhammad Ndogo, and finally myself, that is Muhammad Koidi. So this is coming directly from Muhammad Koidi now. The story of this voyage contains marvelous things that demonstrated before our eyes the favor of God bestowed upon his prince, but also the 2 jurors, Alpha Salih Dihari and Alpha Muhammad Tulay. On the day he journeyed with his entourage, he came to an enormous oasis, which was located at Alexandria, Cairo, and spent the night there with his troops. About an hour of midnight, Alpha Salih Dihari, who went by himself to perform non-obligatory prayers at a remote spot, suddenly heard the sound of a raised voice. He walks toward the voice and then reached it. He saw lamps where they were surrounded by talibs belonging to the race of the jinn, who recited the Quran, having skirted around the assembly. He discovered that they were companions of the jinn Shamahar, who had returned from him from the Hajj. The jinn of Shamahak sat in the midst while the talibs of the race of the jinn faced him and recited the Quran. The Alpha Muhammad Tulay heard this and raised his voice. Gathering went on, and all well performed non-obligatory prayers. So everybody joined in. Recognizing the voice of Alpha Salih Dihari among those gathered, he feared that Alpha had quarreled with someone in the retinue of Asciyah Muhammad. So he has tenured towards them. When he reached them, he recognized the entourage of the jinn Shamahuk and the Alpha's Dari, who stood next to the Shamahuk and asked him questions. As he approached him, he greeted Shamahuk and his companions and sat down and spoke with them. As they spoke, Musa, who was the son of Alpha Salih, came outside in his turn. At this time, he was an infant of 6 years. He heard the voice of his father and walked towards the place from whence it came. When he arrived at the gathering, he recognized his father and the Alpha Muhammad Tulay among the gathering of the jinn, the entourage of the jinn and the Shamarik. He then sat down next to his father. At this moment, spoke to the 2 jurists and said to them, "Who are you?" They said, "We are the members of the entourage of the prince of the believers, the Azkiyah Muhammad." They responded. "He left his home to take the Hajj, and we have accompanied him with the same objective." Shamahar therefore welcomed Salih Dara and said, "The Azkiyah is a holy man. I heard the prophet say that there would be 12 caliphs, all from the Quraysh, and I think that Azkiyah Muhammad is one of them. 10 of them have already come. 2 more remain, and is he no doubt the 11th. As for the last one, he will come sometime in the 13th century." Y'all catch that? The prophet, may God bestow his blessings upon him and grant him the salvation, told me that I would live until the 9th century and that I would be contemporary of the 11th caliph, who would come to judge between the jinn and men. He also told me that I should expect to die at this time. "You have therefore seen the prophet." "Yes," he responded, "and I received these glad tidings from him." This good news filled the jurors with joy. In the midst of the meeting, an jinn who was a slave appeared before the jurors and said to him, "One of your shepherds struck your servant who was with us, and now he has lost consciousness. We therefore submit our legal grievance against you." The jurist Alpha Dari cried out, How could one of our shepherds knowingly hit one of your servants, since all of you are invisible to us? The young servant replied, the slave had taken the form of a serpent. The Shamaruk, who was the chief of the jinn, took to the floor and said, the blood of one who leaves his original shape and is metamorphosed cannot be avenged. Mm. The jurors then rose, took their leave of Jinn, and returned to join their traveling companions. The caravan had spent 2 nights in the place when one of the travelers died, who was named Mohammed. Koidi from the Songhai, he had been a member of the entourage of the Ascii and was guilty of many inequities. As those who have gathered around him took place and rose to perform the prayers of the deceased, Musa and the son of Alpha Salih stood among them, and the divine favor that had been bestowed upon him was manifest before our eyes. The next day, God's favor made itself manifest on behalf of our master and friend, the one whose lips moved ceaselessly reciting his prayers, the eminent, pious, devoted, ascetic friend of the God of the Most High, the faithful jurist, the Alpha Dari, as well as one who molded himself after him. It also made itself manifest on behalf of Husani Sharif and the jurist who versed in lexicology and morphology and syntax, and who possessed a profound knowledge of all things related to the companions of the Prophet, the friend of the God of the Most High, Muhammad Tulay. He was also versed in things that pertain to the Azkiyah Muhammad, an equitable Imam, the father of the orphans and the protector of the widows and the poor and the weak, as well as the wise. Concerning the Alpha Dirari, he said next to him this: we had journeyed from the place of the encounter with the jinn and had been obliged to march for 3 days, when on our 3rd day a wind blew that was so hot and violent that only the most faithful among those in the caravan maintained hope of escaping death. The water in the water skins dry up to the point where not a single drop remained. The thirst for everyone became so acute that it caused more suffering than the wind. The skins were open, but nothing was found inside, adding the general despair. When the caravan were forced to halt because of the violence of the wind, just a desert storm, the Azkiyah Muhammad, prince of the believers, ordered one of the servants, who was named Farid Diallo, to seek out this wise man, Alpha Dahari, and ask him to make a prayer to God in the sacred name of the Prophet to help find water. But the Alpha harshly rebuked the servant, telling him that the sacred name of the Prophet was too exalted to be invoked on behalf of material things. You should ask instead, he said, to say a prayer in the name of our common objective, which is why we sinners now find ourselves in danger. Thus, after arising early in the morning, he faced the direction of Mecca and cried out, "Oh my God, we're dying of thirst. You know our situation better than anyone, since you know all things that are hidden as well as all things that are manifested." He had not finished speaking these words when he were rumbling of a thunder, and as the rain began to fall on us, we quenched our thirst. We watered all our animals, we bathed ourselves, and we washed our clothes, remaining 4 days in the place, as water formed a river the size of 100 spears. See, you can think right about now that that little prayer or that call or cry had something to do with it, right? God was responding directly to them at this time, but behind the sandstorm, and because of the winds of the sandstorm, the rain followed. But in the meantime, the Azkiyah handed out dates to the people in his caravan as it was a custom. He gave everyone but the neglected Alpha Muhammad Tulay. In fact, Alpha Muhammad Tulay felt terrible sorrow, but he did not give his appearance to anyone. Some members of the caravan imagined that his neglect was premeditated, whereas others said that Azkiyah Muhammad had merely forgotten. As for those in the tent of Alpha Tulay, they wept, and some even murmured against the Azkiyah. As these diverse sentiments caused turmoil on the caravan, a white camel was spotted on the east, carrying a heavy load of dates. He walked through the crowd and veered in the direction of the tent of Alpha Muhammad Tulay. After his arrival, the camel then dropped the load of dates at the feet of the Alpha. before returning in the direction from whence he was come. The Alpha Muhammad Tulay then arose and approached the load of dates. He handed them out to all the persons on the caravan. He asked Azkiyah Muhammad had done, and then he surrendered a portion to Azkiyah. Now the Azkiyah found that he had never before seen dates like these. We followed the camel with our eyes until he disappeared from our sight. The Azkiyah approached Alpha and bowed down. He bowed down to him. He did something he couldn't do. Now, before him, lowered his hands as he begged pardon for his omission. Thus it was that God's favor for the wise and saintly man became manifest to all that day. As the Alpha as to the prince, you forgot me because the servant is prone to forgetting, but the master never forgets anyone. Among another unusual and marvelous event that took place during the Hajj, one might mention is the following. The inhabitants of two noble and sacred towns came out to meet the Azkiyah. In the glorious city of Mecca, he also purchased a plot of land where he built the house, which he dedicated on behalf of a noble altar of the Kaaba, like similar to Sister Kaaba's name. At this place, he conducted interviews with the illustrious doctors, with the pious and venerated people. The Sharif of Mecca conferred a turban upon him and invested him in the sovereignty by placing a blue turban on his head and by giving him the title of Imam. In Cairo, he met the Sayyidi Abad al-Raham al-Sayuti. Now, you've heard of al-Saudi before, who foretold the events that would take place within his country. When Ascii asked him about the town of Gaio and the future reserved of the city, it has been said that he replied, I fear that the sedation will be the cause of his downfall. Asked next about the town of Timbuktu, he was reputed to have said, the greatest danger that I fear for the inhabitants is that the town will be ruined and destroyed by famine. Then, speaking about the town of Jin, he said that it would be destroyed and that its inhabitants would die. Excuse me. Of sudden flood, in which they would all be drowned. He told Ascii many other marvelous things as well. The wise then very learned Sayyid Muhammad ibn Abib al-Karim also came to visit the Azkiyah. All this is taking place in Mecca, between Mecca and Medina, by the way. The prince, it was claimed, had learned that the inhabitant of Mecca had possession of a few hairs in the head of a messenger of God, and the merchants had sought out to man laying piles of gold before him. They asked him to steep these noble hairs in water so that the water might become consecrated. Then they wanted to drink this water and use it for their ablutions. The Azkiyah approached this man and asked if he could see these hairs. When the man brought them out, he seized one of them, put it in his mouth, and swallowed it. Hey, what a clever trick, and how very profitable. What a celestial favor. How abundant his blessing. It was also said that Azkiyah entered into the enclosed lattice surrounding the tomb of the messenger, and that the Bari Koi, who was the Mansakura, had entered with him. Now, inside the Barakor seized the hold on the columns of the noble enclosure and cried out, O Azkiyah Muhammad, here lies the messenger of God. Here lies Abu Bakr, Umar. I place myself under their sacred protection so that I may ask certain favors of you. The first is that I would like my daughters to be brought into your palace alone as a woman who bear the titles of legitimate wives. Your wish is granted, responded to Azkiyah. What is the second favor? The second favor, replied to Barakor, is that you will not fail to acknowledge my presence during the pronouncement of your formal decrees. Your wish is granted. What is the third? I ask that you never put to death anyone who takes refuge in my house or who places himself under my protection. Your wish is granted. It is also absolutely necessary, continued Barakor, that you vow to honor these wishes here in this holy place and with the messenger of God. Your wish is granted, said Azkiyah, and their pact was thus concluded. Azkiyah is a busy man. Now I'm gonna wrap this thing on up for y'all, man. I know I kind of like drew this out, but The story continues with him in Mecca until they really go back into they head back and then they deal with some traveling going there. But I'm not going to get into any of the rest of that story. I just wanted to get y'all to Mecca regarding this. Up next, because I said we doing the kings, is the reign of the king of the Asciyah, Musa, not Mansa Musa, Asciyah Musa, who was in revolt against his father, seized power through the use of violence, taking advantage of his father's weak eyesight. This event took place during the time of the prayers on the day of the feast of the sacrifice. This happened on a Sunday, on the 10th day of the Du El Hijj. This was August 15, 1529, ladies and gentlemen. He remained in power for 1 year and 9 months. No one more despicable or vile than Asciyah Musa ever occupied the royal throne of the Songhai or held the office of Azkiyah. As it has often been said, the throne of Songhai was too high a place for him due to his incompetence. When he had overthrown his father, the Azkiyah Mohammed, and had this is why I left some of this out. I didn't want to get into that, but this dude, Azkiyah Musa, overthrew his own father to usurp the throne. He had to be the boy. And you know, the Arabs write about him in a way that they demean him as well. But anyway, when he had overthrown his father at the royal place, he offended him by taking the legitimate wives and concubines of Azkiyah Muhammad and reserving them exclusively for himself. The Azkiyah Muhammad therefore cursed him, saying, "Oh my God, put him to shame, exposing his private parts to all." Sound like that one story in the Bible, huh? And God heard this curse. The next day, as the Azkiyah Musa rode out on his horse before all his troops, he spurred his steed to quicken its pace and then fell off his saddle. At this moment, the seam of his underwear ripped open, and 4 boobas that he wore fell down over his head. This happened in such a way that he became completely exposed, and all of his soldiers, without exception, could see his private parts. On the date of September the 5th in 1529, August 24, 1530, he entered into combat with his brothers between Akugan and Kabara, where he defeated them. He killed more than 30 of the children of his paternal uncle, the Kumar Fari Amar. Some say he killed 35, while others estimate this number at 25. As for the Kumini Fari Uthman, he fled to Timan. It was in the year of August 25th, 1530, August 14th, 1531, that the Azkiyah Musa was killed at the village of Mansurah on a Wednesday, the 24th day of Shaban, which would be April 12, 1531. Following Azkiyah Musa was the reign of Azkiyah Muhammad Bankana. The Azkiyah Musa's successor was Azkiyah Muhammad's Bankana Kira, who was the mother was named Mina Keriro. He ascended to the throne the first day of the month of Ramadan. He was always referred to as Mar Bankana, the unnatural kinsman. As soon as he was invested with power, he ordered the eldest of his paternal uncles into exile, that is the Azkiyah Muhammad, whom he expelled from Gayo and banished into the Isles of Kanganga. When the Azkiyah Musa had dethroned his father, he had nonetheless allowed his Azkiyah Muhammad to remain in Gayo without expelling him from this town. When he left the womb of his mother on the night of his birth, it is said that Mar Bankana wailed so loudly that he was heard by the Shi Ali in his royal palace, not far from the house of where Azkiyah Muhammad Bankana was born. The Shi immediately called his son to summon the Kanfari Amar, and the Azkiyah Muhammad thus summoned these men, hastened to present themselves to him. The Shi then said to them, Was a child born in this house tonight? They responded, yes. Responded Ascii Muhammad, the concubine of my brother Amir just gave birth to a son. You are hereby informed, said the she, that you would have to kill the child. They didn't kill the child. They poured sand. Well, I'm gonna just say it like this. They poured sand over their heads and begged him to allow the child to live. Go to him, he told them, and look inside his mouth to see if he was born with teeth. They both went over there, opened the mouth of the child. They saw it was filled with teeth. Returning then before the she, they informed him of what they had seen. This child, he said, will be a miscreant and a libertine. However, I will allow him to live. It is you alone, O Makani, who will be the one to suffer because of him. Later on, you will see the evil that he will create for you and your children. Such is the story that I now record, as was told to me by the master and father. The Azkiyah Marban Kanakiri was a hardy, brave, and intrepid man. Whenever he was in combat and fighting became violent, he would climb down from his horse and fight his enemies on foot. Come here. He was one of those who enhanced the luster of the royal dignity of Songhai. He was the first to order the preparation of woolen garments and fabrications of bracelets for his servants. He was also the first who ordered drummers to accompany him on his voyage. He was the Azkiyah Muhammad Bankana who actually invented the musical instruments of the forteforo and gambatande. The forteforo is like a trumpet and the gambatane is like a drum, but one that sounds more somber than ordinary drums. These two instruments was known in his country, but the former times the king of Aryar was the only one to possess the forteforo. In other respects, the Azkiyah Muhammad Bankana was a violent man with little patience. He was the first Khan Fari who became Azkiyah. After his accession, the office of Khan Fari was passed on to Uthman, son of the Khan Fari Amar, of the son of Azkiyah Muhammad. War broke out between Muhammad Bankana and the Khan Fari Uthman, who met between Kanbara and Al Dafif and engaged in battle at his place. Muhammad Bankana was a victor, putting him to death, 15 of his brothers in Khan Fari Uthman, Ibn Muhammad, and all of the Azkiyah Muhammad. Now, during his reign, the strength of the army of Songhai multiplied. It has been estimated to have gained 1,700. He remained in power for 6 years and 1 month before being divested of power of Mansurah, the same village where he had been proclaimed king and where he had fought his brothers. His deposition took place on a Wednesday, the second day of the month of April the 12th, 1537. And it has been said that he entered into battle with his brothers on the 24th day, which was April 12th, 1531, according to Baba Goro and the Durihis. And among the remarkable advisors and ulamans who died during his reign, one often mentions the wise jurist, our master El Hajj Ahmad, the eldest grandfather of Sidi Ahmad Baba, who called himself El Hajj Ahmad ibn Umar ibn Muhammad Akit, and who was the brother of the father of the mother of our master, the Koidi, Muhammad Umar Muhammad Akit, who was the oldest brother. He died in the year of June the 20th, 1536, 1537, as reported by Ahmad Baba. During the same year, that is, the year of Ascii, Ismail, the son of Azkiyah Muhammad and the paternal cousin of Azkiyah Muhammad Bakana, revolted against the Azkiyah Muhammad Bakana and was proclaimed sovereign outside the walls of the town of Gayo. When Azkiyah Muhammad Bakar was informed of this news, he left the region and took refuge at Timbuktu. With his former cavaliers at his heels, he left Timbuktu and took refuge in Tindama, where the Kumani Fari was Uthman, the brother of his father and mother, who had been appointed Khan Fari after Khan Fari Uthman, son of Azkiyah Muhammad. When he saw his brother had been disposed and was now in flight, Uthman followed in his footsteps, and both of them fled towards Mali. where they arrived without coming to harm. The Asciyah Mohammed bin Karna took residence in the principal town of Tabar, where he died and where his tomb can still be found. Tangulu, yeah, Tony. Well, you could say djembe, but they didn't call it the djembe drum. But we can say that. Now, next to rule is Azkiyah Ismail. I'm not gonna mention Azkiyah Ismail because I can make this video long as all get out, and I don't want to do that with this one. But I do want to kind of look in the chat, man, because I see we got some people in here kicking some knowledge. So I want to see if I can catch up with what everybody else got going on in the chat, and then we can wrap this version of the King's List up, and then we will follow up with more King's List stuff. But let's see what's going on, man. See, we getting in that West African stuff. Sutek said his layout finna be fire. Yeah, he was killed by Dindara Fari. These dudes was a trip, bro. Everything was about usurping the power. What up, Aziz? Yeah, I'm about to make Hajj. I'm a little late on that, but I am about to make Hajj. What else is Ladosha Mongo was good? All right, okay. I see it's a lot of people that was on Kofi Pasai research earlier that are here tuned into this. So I do want to say peace and blessing to everybody out there that tuned into this episode. I did get a lot of messages. I even got some phone calls from people. I got like 4 or 5 phone calls regarding part 2 of the Nzinga build that we did on Kofi Pasai research team. And people were saying that they went right when it was getting good. I kind of shut down on people. So I apologize for that. But I didn't want to extend it because I need to make it digestible for people who've never heard information before. So if they go back and play the replay, it's replayable for them. It's not a lot of information and they can consume it. I also got compliments on how the historical, breaking down the historical context and its meaning, which is a good thing. See, if we can get rid of the back and forth and we can kind of give people clarity first and define things properly and give it context, then people can understand the historical narrative of what took place in these times. Even when dealing with Queen Nzinga, right? Specifically, if you listen to some of the dates that I was mentioning, these dates that I was mentioning was happening right around the time the Portuguese was in the Congo. So while you have all these Azkiyahs in Mali and Songhai going through their things, the Congo was dealing with a whole nother issue. We haven't even gotten into the fact, well, I think we did a little bit, but we haven't even gotten into the fact of the effects of the Portuguese on all of these empires. They were bloodsuckers. They pit people against one another. But without proper context, we can never have those. We can never have an honest discussion because it's just barbershop talk, which is cool because some people vibe off of that, and they like to sit in the barbershop and argue. I used to sit in the barbershop and argue when I was a kid. When I was just a kid, I would argue about sports all day with anybody who came in there talking crazy. If it wasn't sports, it was Madden because I felt like couldn't nobody in the hood beat me. And then if it really got real, you know what I'm saying? They put their little money up. I was just a little kid, but I had a bankroll. Let's bet. I used to get free haircuts, clothes, all kind of stuff. But it takes context to have those discussions so the arguments are sound, right? So later you might see Sutek come and talk about one specific claim that was generalized and made by some of those brothers on the other channels just to give things clarity. That claim is they sold their own people. See, the more that you go back and listen to the videos, the more the claim, the more you find dirt on those guys. It's sad, but it's true. If people just making up stuff all day, nobody's gonna really learn. Like people think that they was learning in the midst of that chaos, but you cold-blooded. I don't know how you do it. I can't learn like that. It's too much noise. So what I'm about to do now, and I'm just gonna be honest with anybody that's still listening, to all of y'all that are listening right now, I ain't gonna lie to you. See, I don't cherry pick. I don't play favorites. I argue with everybody. And I don't worship anyone. I don't worship anyone. And I don't play favoritism. So when I go back and review things, I see the chat. And certain people might not be commenting right now, but I'm letting you know right now, I see the chat. No, Stacy. See, you don't have the context. If you don't get the you got to go watch the bill. You got to go on Kofi Pie Side research team, and you got to understand what was going on. Are you still a drug dealer? If you sold drugs for 10 years, but the last 10 years of your life, you ain't sold no drugs, are you still a drug dealer? You see what I'm saying? I ain't give none of that context. So let me rephrase that. No, I don't even want to talk about it, bro. Look, I don't even want to talk about it. I got some good information going on the Kofi Pie Side research team regarding it. People got to slow down. But the people in the chat, we see you. We see you. You might play it one way in they chat, play it another way in another chat. You might not even come to our chats. You might just listen into the video. You might catch the replay. You might not even comment no more on the videos. You might feel some type of way. I know it's one person in particular that feels some kind of way. I read your comment in the chat, and I'm just letting you know that. I read your comment in the chat. Several comments. I even read the comments where you felt like that I was coming for the pseudo killers because you uphold a position that they actually take, which is out of ignorance. See, I don't play with emotions when it comes to scholarship because I ain't in love with the information. Bro, see, Stacy, you still listening to the wrong people. I haven't even begun to get into the evidence yet because there's no context. They said they sold their own people. They said that there was a slave trade and a slave market before Europeans. So if there was a slave trade and a slave market before Europeans, where's the evidence, Chef? They said a lot of things, Stacy. We still ain't got the evidence for it. It's a bunch of emotionalism going on. How could you learn? How do you know fact from fiction? So look, Anusha's in the chat. Some of this stuff she's never heard before, and she openly admitted that she never heard it before. How could she distinguish the truths from the falses if she's never heard it before and it's the first time she's hearing it? She couldn't. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't know what's transpiring, how could this be a learning experience for anyone? They got mad when I made the video, the pseudo historiography of the pseudo killers. They were mad. They ain't said nothing to me since I made that video because they personality worship. See, when you start targeting people's personages and that, you know, the way that they feel about certain people, or they become religious about these particular entities, like they can't be challenged, that's where the problems lie. You see what I'm saying? Like when you have immature ignorant people that show up in your chat and want to say certain things and block other members, right, in the chat as much as they did when the favors returned, it don't feel right. See, we see all that. We see all that. I don't even know why you here. I'm gonna tell you like I tell everybody else. If somebody's right, prove it. Prove it. What are they right about? What do you know about the subject that makes them right? Because they don't even know about the subject. You don't believe me? Don't make me play the video clips to prove to you that they're all over the place in the discussion and that they aren't even on par. The very first claim was there was a slave market and a slave trade before Europeans and Arabs. Did anyone ever get that evidence on that from that channel, or the people who said it several times? No one got it. I'm stuck right there. The Nzinga thing ain't nothing but a smokescreen. Emotionalism. Show me where Africans traded and enslaved other Africans. Then show me the slave plantations. Show me an African slave plantation. A plantation owned and ran by Africans. Show me the experience. Go find it. First of all, define slavery. Don't come over here kicking up dust. Yeah, some people are not looking to learn. See, I can do the emotionalism too, but I'm not. I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give. I'm always going to deliver context, but I'm always going to deliver the evidence. I'm going to give you the sources because I can go to internal sources and I can go to external sources. If you're only handicapped and you can only entrust in external sources, then you're handicapped because you don't even study Africa. You don't even know where to go. You don't know any historians that's on the continent of Africa that you can rely on that would have sound scholarship and bring it forth to you. Please. So that's where we are. I'm only taking questions about the Azkiyahs. So if you got a question about the Azkiyahs, you can ask your question about the Azkiyahs. If your question is not about the history of the kings of Songhai, nah, I ain't got no question. I'm not taking questions. I'm caught up in the chat now. I read up and read back down. I'm good. I ain't think you did. Yeah, it won't be none of that over here. So anyone got any questions about the history of the kings of Songhai? We still have more to go, but I didn't want to extend it out too long. Like I said, I'm making all these videos bite-sized where people can digest it and learn. Nah, them brothers emotional. Yeah, I said it's in the description of the book, bro. It's in the description of the video. The name of the book is in the description. It's Nzinga of Angola, America's warrior queen. I will answer questions regarding the topic of the conversation. The topic of the conversation is the history of the kings of Songhai. If you don't have questions about the history of the kings of Songhai, then there's nothing to talk about. When we're live and we're discussing anything else everywhere else that we are live at, we will answer questions according to the topic. I deal with scholarship, not fools. We write books. We educate people. We advance scholarship. We are demonstration-based conversations. We just don't sit around and say, ask questions all day about things. We give clear clarity when we demonstrate. Shouldn't be no questions. Look at Thurman. There you go, Thurman. Absolutely not. Nobody handled the 668, the 666 AD. Nobody answered, bruh. Nobody, no contention. They said that I proved their point. No, I took away your argument. Nobody's handled it yet, bro. Nobody's handled anything. I asked a question to them. Since everybody want to ask questions, I asked the question: have they ever been in a war? That ain't been answered. What happens when you succumb to that? Oh yeah, shout out to my brother, man. I don't want to put his name out there, but hopefully you got your email with the confirmation number for, you know what I'm saying? I know you just purchased it today and I sent you your tracking number today. It should be in your email, signed, sealed, delivered, bro. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you. We thank you for going over to Same Tree Different Branch and purchasing your copy of the book and the actual video. That's love right there, bro, because you ain't have to do that. So shout out to you for actually supporting wholeheartedly. You know what I'm saying? And look at my nephew. Listen to my nephew. Come here. What Caleb do? Caleb just put my shirt in the couch. He put your shirt in the couch? Yeah. Oh, you all right. Anything else you want to tell me? Your pants sagging? You don't pull your pants up? Your box is showing, buddy. Thank you. Turn the light on for me. No, on the other one. Nope. Yeah, there you go. Boom. Thank you, sir. You want to talk to your mama? Yeah. I'm gonna call in a second. Give me like 5 minutes, okay? Okay. You hear Tyson? He in the room barking and he won't shut up. Ali, you been to war? Your mama got some fish. Oh, okay. You want some more pizza? Nope. Okay. Where Elijah at? Upstairs. Tell Elijah come here. Tell him he finna get some straightening. Elijah, come here. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Hey, close the door. All right. All right. So yeah, man. Ali, you said you've been to war, right? So when you go to war, right? When you're in that environment of war, right? And let's say that you are invading a town. You're looking for your enemy or whatnot, and they can be anywhere. They looking for you, you looking for them. Right? So let's just put it to you like this. You looking for them, they looking for you. You run up on some of them, you kick in the door, they right there, and then boom, 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 y'all shooting it out in the whole 9 yards. Now, you end up finding some people in there, right? That survive or whatnot. Do you kill them or do you capture them, handcuff them, and take them in? Anybody familiar with Guantanamo Bay? What is the US doing with a prison full of people that ain't even from the US? Ask your question about the Songhai kings. I said I was taking questions on the history of the Songhai kings. We're not done with all the kings, but I said that I was fielding questions. He said prisoners of war is better for the economy. You can negotiate. You can get information. Thank you, Ali. So I ain't gonna ask a follow-up. You made a strong point. Everything is everything. I said nope. Put your question in the chat, bro. We're waiting. What is your question about the Songhay? You don't need a link to ask a question. Yep. Okay. You got to give it up for him. He only 3 years old. All right. So look, put a 1 in the chat if y'all want me to do the part 3 to Queen and Zinga today. Put a 2 in the chat if we need to get into this SARS-CoV-2 bill and study group, because most of the people that's in this chat right now rock with me on the study group tip with SARS and stuff. He said dead people are martyrs. Yeah, pretty much. He said that the Songhai kings have eunuchs. We dealt with that. If you go back to the video before this video, because I was dealing with the kings list. If you go back to the video before this regarding that, I dealt with that specifically, and I gave a lot of context and clarity. I said, what did I say? 1 on Zynga, 2 on SARS-CoV-2. Tika said 2. Yeah, I mean, somebody else is going live about the whole Nzinga thing, so I might not even have to go any further. But I do want to give it that clarity and that context, because where we stopped with her, we stopped at a pivotal point that when she was 10 years old and what had transpired, for anyone unfamiliar. Nunu says she handcuffing and taking them. I agree, because you need the leverage to negotiate, like Ali said. What purpose did they serve? They had a multitude of occupations. They could serve in the courts. They could serve in the court of the kings. That was the highest prestige. See, you try to play it, but you can't play it because you don't know Africa. Have you ever studied anything about Africa? Because you asked me about eunuchs. When Africans didn't even see these people as eunuchs. Eunuchs is somewhere else. If you look up the etymology of the word, they really didn't. If you look at the etymology of the word, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking, have you ever studied Africa? Now I'm gonna give you clarity on what you actually dealing with when you asked your question. So let me be honest with you real quick. It didn't have eunuchs. Arabs had eunuchs. I'm gonna be more specific to you. American Dream. African countries and nations didn't have eunuchs. Arabs had eunuchs. Arabs castrated people. Moors, they deal with that. Okay. The Moroccans and all of that, they had people serving up in there, high prestige. Those are eunuchs. You deal with you're dealing with at that point Arabs. Arabs were castrating people. Now, when we talk about the Songhai, no, they didn't have eunuchs. There was no castration going on. They wasn't cutting people's penis off. They wasn't even doing it to the people that they captured. No. So I'm gonna quit playing with you and be honest. They didn't. So the whole eunuch thing would be foreign to those empires, especially the Songhai that you're referring to. He ain't got nothing to do with anything. He was trying to ask a question. The Songhai keys had eunuchs that served as boy wives. No, man. All right. Okay. I understand that the stream is behind, but I kind of answered your question and I quit messing with you just to entertain you. I just told you Arabs. The Songhai didn't have no eunuchs. So, yeah, what aboutism? Facts. So I ain't dealing with that anymore. All right, let me see. Let me measure something up real quick. Uh, well, nah, I'll let y'all deal with that. Yeah, it's fallacious reasoning. Really, his question had nothing to do with Songhai at all. And what he was alluding to, doesn't have any validity. But you know what I'm saying? Me just being an a-hole right now, I just wanted to say yeah and do all of that to see what his next question would be if he would have a question. But it doesn't really actually have a legitimate question. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's where you can purchase what SARS-CoV-2 done from taught me. No, I don't expect people like Mika, nobody like that to purchase. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't. I'll tell you that right now. She ain't gonna buy the book. Don't expect her to. She just here for the noise. That's a fact. Similar to American Dream, just here for the noise, the distraction. But this is the good part because we're no longer teaching at this particular moment. We're just having a conversation for another few minutes. Just reading the chat and seeing what people are saying. American Dream. I said no, they did not have eunuchs. They didn't have people in like that. No. We moved off of that. Like I literally, like 5 minutes ago, I literally answered the question after I got done playing and said, "Let me stop playing with you." Okay, so are you saying that they had eunuchs? The Songhai Empire, they had eunuchs? Is that what you're saying? Because I said no, and I was stern with the no, and we don't even have any documented evidence of such from the history that was written by primary sources in the Fatish and the Sudan and the internal sources. We don't have any of that. So you can't say why is the truth a distraction? You haven't spoken the truth. See, you make no sense right now. That's why everybody's messing with you in the chat, bro. I'm gonna do you and me a favor. Oh, he said yes. I mean, unblock. Hold on. My bad. So you said that they have eunuchs in the Songhai, the kings. Said something is wrong with. Yeah, he do. So you said that you're saying yes, that they had eunuchs. Prove it. What's your source? What's your source? Show me a eunuch. I got 52 books on West Africa over here, buddy. Show me the source. Give me the name. I can grab it from right here on my right hand side. If you need to look at my library, I can show you. I got 52 books on West Africa. History. I'm waiting to see if you can actually, you know what I mean? You should be able to type. What is the source for that? That's a hell of a claim. Sutek, we have a new claim. The Songhai had eunuchs. I ain't never read that. Everything. You but way behind the stream. Thank you, Infinite Minds. If you already got an answer for it, provide the source so it can be challenged. I want to see these eunuchs, though. I want to see who they were. When did they rule? I mean, not when did they rule. My bad. Like, which Asciyah? Yeah, I know he never had sources, but where can I find these eunuchs? Was it during the reign of Sunny Ali, Asciyah Muhammad? Hmm? What about Sundiata, Mansa Musa, and all them? He said, I expect this eunuch term to come from this language. Nah, you're not gonna catch it from Jema. Jema. So he ain't answering. Okay, cool. Let me try to set that up. Oh, hold on real quick. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I got y'all. I know what y'all want. I'm gonna go ahead and nip all that in the bud right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna nip that in the bud right now. What's up, man? Come on. No more questions, comments, concerns, likes, dislikes, faults, claims, any of the good stuff. Come on now. Hey man, I'm getting dislikes, buddy. That's how you know you're doing good. Shout out to the pseudos. Shout out to the pseudos who got a problem with the scholarship. Mm-hmm. You got a problem with the scholarship. Edit video. Your videos. All right, hold on 1 second, y'all. Man, y'all couldn't hear nothing I was saying, man. My bad. All right, so here we go. Where is that? Kofi Pie Side TV it is. I look at Sutek. Sutek icon already up. All right, y'all. I'm about to get the show started. It's set up now. I'll catch y'all on the flip side.